Hey guys, this is a new one for me. I'm kind of going back in time here because yesterday I couldn't get any video up, so it's before you guys get here today. I may be wearing the same thing later today when I give you the video for today. So I guess buckle up. I just wanted to make sure that I kind of hit some of the points again that I've been talking about and that we've been discussing as a class over the course of the last few days as we've been reading. I want to kind of bring a quote into focus for you, and then I'll move it a little bit further beyond that, so I can give you maybe a little bit of a help with your journal entries. Father said something, or Tim said something about Father when Father was being surrounded by the cowboys, how he was acting all calm and cool even though he was probably really scared. And we brought up the saying that, you know, even if people expect you to be brave, sometimes you act bravely even though you don't really feel brave. Well, that brought us back to Walk Two Moons. And a main theme of Walk Two Moons was, you know, this idea of outward appearances versus inward thoughts and thinking, and kind of how we have to wrestle with the two in order to make it through our daily lives every day. And I thought that that was very interesting because that was a book in modern setting, and this is a book in a setting that's over 230 years ago. And I know you guys sometimes struggle with making that connection between you know, your lives today and the lives of the people that you're learning about in social studies. But really and truly, people haven't changed all that much. We still struggle with the same things. We still react in very different ways to the same circumstances. All of us have different personalities, and we really have trouble trying to make sense of the world. So while the world that these people lived in was very, very different, obviously, no electricity, no cars, I mean, the list is endless, right? Mostly because of that first one, no electricity. Right? No running water. I mean, this is a very, very different life. But I think if you dropped yourself into this life and had no knowledge of all of that extra stuff that we have today, you might find yourself making some of the same decisions and wrestling with some of the same issues that these characters are wrestling with in the novel that you're reading. And that's important for me as a teacher. This is a little selfish moment for me. That's important for me as a teacher that you get, because a lot of times when I talk to you in class about, you know, work ethic and about following through on your responsibilities and really becoming young adults and being proud of the work you're doing and really completing certain tasks and moving forward, knowing how important it is to be learning every day. A lot of it comes from the roots of our country. Our country was founded on these principles, and I think that hopefully through this book you'll find it a lot easier to connect with that and maybe start living out some of these things that you are finding as really good qualities of people from that period of time in our history. And in terms of your journal entries, I mean, a lot of that thinking of, oh my gosh, how is such and such dealing with this? How is so-and-so, you know, making this happen? And really getting into the psychology of it and putting yourself in that position, really making that deep connection with the characters to be able to experience life the way they're experiencing life. Not Father, life, lowercase l. And a couple other things that I just want to touch on before I finish up this video that we've been talking about a lot is, you know, we see a lot of the family dynamic changing and shifting and merging. As one person tends to lose control a little bit, somebody else steps up and takes control. And we've got this very, you know, even if there are still fights in this and that, we've got a healthy relationship where people feel comfortable voicing their opinions. Now, life might be a little stubborn, and that's capital L, life. Might be a little stubborn and a little over the top, I guess, in terms of how he treats his family sometimes. But again, we remember the time period and the power that he was used to having sort of being taken away from him in the balance of power. And so we can maybe, although we don't agree with how women and children were necessarily treated at the time, we can understand, which allows us to connect, to his way of thinking based on what his life used to be like. We also talked about how there's not really a side where you can say there's good guys and bad guys. We were talking about how both sides are really doing really horrible things to people on the other side, and not just soldiers, but soldiers to civilians, civilians to civilians. I mean, there's a lot of really awful stuff going on. And in these chapters that we finished up yesterday, you know, the Platts, which are the Meeker's cousins, have said, you know, in this town, everybody's armed against their neighbors. We don't have, like Reading is a Tory town where the Meekers are from. It's pretty much a Tory town where everybody's pretty much a Tory. Well, apparently, where the Platts live, the entire town is divided. And so people have to be careful that their neighbors, their own neighbors, don't attack them, even though they're not soldiers. So that's something important to remember too. See, we're not used to having war outside our door. Now, we're used to growing up in a world dominated by war. I mean, you guys, the war that's going on right now, it can't actually be called a war because we haven't declared war since World War II. Everything else has been a military action. But still, you guys were born after this latest military action started, I think, or maybe just before. But you've really never known anything other than being in war as a country. And yet we still don't know what it's like to look out our window and maybe see a wounded soldier walking back, or, God forbid, even a fight, an actual battle going on outside our doors. So this gives us an opportunity to kind of not only connect with this period of time in our history, but think about what must be going through the minds of families in the Middle East, where there are conflicts directly happening right now in their neighborhoods, outside their doors. And in other parts of the world, I mean, we're not the only country at war here in the world, and not even in the same conflict. I mean, think about how tribes in Africa must feel still. I mean, there still are warlords who are attacking villages, neighboring villages, without warning. And when we stop to really think about it and analyze how we might react in situations, that's when we really get to the core of what we're trying to do with all of the reading that we do, which is really just get a firmer sense of who we are in a world that is constantly changing. Hold on to that thought. We're going to talk about it a little bit more today. Keep up the great work with your packets and your journals, guys. I have seen a complete 180 from a lot of you, and you're really focused and you're really determined to get all the work done, and I love that. I love that. I love that. Keep that up. It's awesome to see. I will see you guys in about 5 minutes.